Más de 1.000 millones de pollos machos no deseados son matados en su primer día de vida cada año en los Estados Unidos.
Hello, sir. How you doing?
Awesome, yourself?
I'm doing good. Yeah, it seems that you've been coming here with your camera.
Yes.
Yeah, so what's up?
Nothing
Anything
much.
you want to talk about? Or
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, okay, so what is it?
About, I guess, animals, because that's what you're advocating.
Yeah, obviously. Right, so you just decided to stop by and see what we were up
Sure,
to.
yes,
So
sir.
are you like an independent journalist or?
Yeah, you can call me that if you like.
Okay, I see. So you
Yes.
didn't know about our event prior, you just happened to stumble upon us and then you just decided
Yes,
to.
correct.
Okay. So were you looking for events prior to this or you just walking by the street having a
Yeah,
normal day?
more or less. Kind of learned by
gotcha.
chance.
Okay. So what do you think about what we're doing here overall? I want you to be as honest as possible.
I like eating meat.
Okay.
I can be more honest than that. I am eating meat. I will be eating meat. And I think that humans do need eating meat. Humanely eating, raising animals and eating their lives is perfectly fine by me.
Okay.
And I have first-hand experience of living in a place which you never did, called USSR.
The Soviet Union.
Exactly.
I'm well aware of it. Yeah, I've been
Good.
studying on it, communism and whatnot. Yeah, it's pretty interesting to me. But go ahead.
Well, it's pretty interesting for someone who never lived in it, but someone who suffered for 21 years behind, 29 years behind there in curtain, it wasn't fun at all, to put it
I see.
mildly.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, when you studied about it, what piqued your curiosity about the USSR? I mean,
Well-
I'm digressing, of course.
The economic system in particular, pertaining to communism, the Gulag, Joseph Stalin. I've been reading a little bit on it because I'm pretty left-leaning myself. But obviously, I'm 100% completely opposed to the whole system and what happened during the Soviet Union. It was pretty oppressive, right? One thing that I've noticed is that usually the far left, a small minority of them, right, tend to use like the Soviet Union and the USSR as an aesthetic, right? They usually tend to go around and say, oh, the Soviet Union, yeah, communism, but they don't really understand and look through the deeper roots of what happened during that time period and just how oppressive it was.
Correct.
Because a lot of like far left people, they're big fans of communism, socialism, anarchism.
You're not.
So, huh?
You're not.
I
You're
mean,
not
I'm
one of
pretty
those.
open to the idea of it, but just as long as it's not through an oppressive system like the Soviet Union, for example.
But here's the problem.
Okay.
Hereby lies the problem. See, we have a senator, not less than a senator, from Vermont, who calls himself Democratic Socialist.
Oh, okay.
And he thinks that by
Bernie
adding...
Sanders?
Exactly.
Okay.
So you think by adding the word democratic in front of socialist, do you think that somehow changes the socialism in general, the brutality of socialism?
So do you think socialism isn't inherently democratic? Like it can't be run democratically?
No.
At all whatsoever?
No, whatsoever.
I think there could be
They're mutually-
areas where that could possibly happen, but for the most part, yeah, I do agree. Especially the further left you go towards socialism, communism, and anarchism, there could be points where it could go through an authoritarian state where it's pretty fascist and you don't have as much as individual liberty.
Correction.
Right? So,
Not can be. Always. That's
Always?
the keyword.
So-
Always.
okay.
Always.
I got you.
But go ahead.
So there can be areas where that can happen. However, I think democratic socialism in particular and libertarian socialism is not as bad as people make them out to be. And free market socialism, those three economic systems in particular. Now, to be fair with you, I'm not inherently too well educated on the topic. I'm still looking into it, still trying to learn more about it. But the idea of socialism is just the fact that because capitalism runs through a form of hierarchy, right? I refer to myself as a social democrat for now. Are you aware of what social democracy is?
Well, see, there's a fundamental difference between these two words.
Social democracy and democratic socialism. Yeah,
No,
there's a difference.
well, just one word. Social and socialism.
Yeah, I know.
The minute you get ISM at the end, it changes the meaning completely.
I see.
So, social democrat has absolutely nothing to do with socialism
Yeah, I know.
or socialist.
I know.
Like, there's social democracies
It's
in Europe.
inherently, yeah, social democracy is like a highly, highly reformed version of capitalism with an abundance of free services.
No,
So,
not-
for example,
not-
it
not
can,
free, not free,
Huh?
not
Well,
free.
Yeah, I know.
Tax
tax,
adjust,
tax.
exactly.
Yeah, but for the public, for example, or depending on who you are as an individual. So, if you're someone who's disabled, or if you're someone that really isn't capable of completing certain tasks or whatever the case may be, if you're disadvantaged in some way, because of these tax social services that they can provide to you for free.
Not for free.
So, well,
that's the wrong thing. They're not free.
Okay.
Here's a question. So I'm happy that you studied all the stuff.
yeah, I'm still learning. I'm still learning.
Okay,
I'm
you're
being
talking to
honest.
the right person. Okay,
Right.
because I live this nightmare.
Gotcha.
So when we talk about the free stuff, again, since they're learning, and they're not free, obviously, because nothing
Right.
is free.
Yeah, I'm still learning. I'm gonna be honest.
Okay,
with you.
so do you know how much taxes they pay in Sweden?
No, I do know
Take a guess.
Sweden. Probably pretty high, I'd say.
Which is what? And I'm talking about value-added tax.
Okay.
Not income tax. It's
Okay.
like two completely different things.
Right. Mm-hmm.
We don't have value-added tax at all in America. The only country in the world that is actually that has only sales tax but no value-added tax.
Gotcha.
So do you know how much is value-added tax in Denmark and Norway and
The
Sweden?
Scandinavian countries?
Scandinavian
Right, so
countries.
Scandinavian, I believe they're part of the Nordic model, which is a model that's socially democratically run, I believe.
Correct.
Yes.
Taxes.
Yeah, I see.
How much? VAT,
Probably pretty high,
which
I'd
is
assume.
throw a number.
I see.
I mean, to put it in perspective, here in New Jersey, our tax is 3%, the state tax, right?
Gotcha.
Plus there's city taxes here and there, like a few percentage points.
Gotcha.
So 3% versus, let's say, Nordic model, as we call it. So what's the Nordic's model of taxes?
If I were to take a guess, I'd be honest, I'd say somewhere around.
Los peces y otros animales de mar son criaturas sensibles e inteligentes que tienen una
For the most part, the average median income there, as far as I'm aware.
VAT.
Well, yeah, I know. Okay, so probably somewhere taxed around 8 to 11%-ish, maybe? Or am I getting that wrong? I'm sorry, I'm still learning again when it comes to the
Let me
taxes.
shock you.
Yeah, go ahead.
25%.
Wow.
25%. So first, they charge you 25% for everything. I mean, absolutely everything.
Gotcha.
I mean, this pig head was made by someone. You bought it in the store. You have to pay 25% extra. You bought this hat, 25% extra. Check, I mean, anything, 25% extra. So and then they say, oh, it's free. Oh, wait a minute. I already paid 25%. And here you have an option. You can buy or not to buy.
What about healthcare in that particular region? Because you would have to admit that healthcare in these Scandinavian
not.
countries is far better
No,
than in here, for example.
absolutely not. And here's why.
Why?
Look, oh gosh, here goes this car again. I lived in USSR, okay, for 29 years. Guess what? In USSR, everything was free. I mean, when it comes to healthcare, okay? So it can be free, but it's not available.
Got you.
See the difference? Yes, it's free. If I say,
But
oh,
you would admit that it's still easily accessible compared to countries such as
oh,
the US or.
absolutely. If it's non-existent, sometimes I would have to go to a doctor living in USSR for some treatment who would have
Right.
like illegal office in his apartment. He would be sent to jail for doing this.
I see.
But he would do it anyway. So I would have to go to that kind of doctor to get some minor treatments, rather than going to like official medical offices, because you will not get any treatments. You will have to find medication somewhere else. So it was horrible. Even in Great Britain today, I mean, they try to portray that British insurance is great. I just came back from Great Britain recently. I was there in August, September, and I talked to a lot of people over there. Yeah, there's a national healthcare system,
Right.
but if you really want to get access to the doctors and a better treatment, you buy the alternative private insurance on top of the government health insurance. So it's not about something being free.
Right.
It's about something
So these are
being
all
accessible.
complications and problems and issues that the middle class and the upper class is facing when it comes to higher taxes, correct?
Well,
Or like who's facing these issues in particular when it comes to higher taxes? What class in particular?
what they're
like
referring to classes, to me,
no, I'm not
sounds
saying.
so Soviet Union,
No, I'm talking about like
class
the,
struggle.
No. Let's look at the Scandinavian countries in
Yes.
particular.
Sure.
So you said high taxes there, correct?
Yeah, it's
So-
not taxes, it's value-added tax, and
Okay.
that's on top of your income tax,
Gotcha.
which in France, for example, reaches up to 75%. You would think, why would I even bother working?
What is that? Oh, gotcha. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, why why would I even bother working?
Okay.
But what is the question again?
Yeah, so the Scandinavian countries,
Uh-huh.
Norway, Sweden, etc., Finland especially, these countries in particular, you said 25% tax?
Yes.
The Scandinavian countries?
VAT, correct,
Okay,
yes.
and who are the ones that have to pay those taxes? Like
Everybody.
everybody.
I mean, even me as a tourist, I would go over there. Whatever I buy, automatically to the bill they add 25%.
So literally everybody is...
Like you pay sales tax over here.
Okay.
But even here for sales tax, some items are excluded, like
Okay.
footwear at the $100, food products and stuff are excluded. Over there, absolutely everything. As a tourist, maybe if you buy some souvenirs and stuff at the airport, they might reimburse you. But that's about it.
Okay.
Other than that, every single person pays 25%.
And there's no
tax
reimbursement. Okay, so where do
No.
those taxes go then?
to the government.
Okay, and what does the government would do with those taxes?
Waste,
On
as usual. Provide you. Then they say, oh, we have free this or free that.
Okay.
That's why they call it free. They already tax everybody 25%.
Right.
Oh, and then they say it's free.
Okay.
It's like it come to you. You know what? You have $100,000. Give me $25,000.
Okay,
Oh,
got you.
now I give you like free something. Well, but I already got $25,000 from you.
Okay, so
it's
here's
free.
the thing, right?
Yes.
Like, I don't know, man, but for me personally, especially considering the fact that the taxes are that high in these Scandinavian countries,
Uh-huh.
I have a very, very hard time believing that they would waste a large majority of that, especially considering the fact that these Scandinavian countries in particular,
Uh-huh.
especially Finland, Norway, Sweden, all of these Scandinavian Nordic model countries, they all have the lowest poverty rates on the planet. All of them. They're all in the top 10 when it comes to the lowest poverty rates.
Well, then
so
they're-
if that's the case, then
That's not
how
the
can you
reason.
go out and say, okay, then how did they get the lowest poverty rates on the planet?
Culture.
Culture?
Yes.
Really?
Culture, yes.
Okay.
Everything. Think about it. Everything in the world boils down to culture.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on what happens in the black community then? Would you say that's also culture?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
So
Culture.
the
Look,
reason why
I'll give you an example.
Okay, go right ahead.
I'm Jewish.
Okay.
Okay. So there's a country called Israel.
Right.
Okay, the state of Israel was born in 1948, I believe. They declared independence. The minute of 47, the minute they declared independence, all our Arab countries around it declared war on Israel. And since then, up today, up to 2022, they've been living at the state of war. Okay, any other country perhaps would have collapsed, would not be able we would not be able to sustain these constant attacks. Yet Israel, the GDP per capita in Israel is higher than Italy. I was kind of shocked to learn recently. I was like checking recently, higher than Italy, for example. And that's a teeny tiny country. So the question boils down to why, let's say, all the countries around Israel, much richer with oil resources, I mean, you name it, why are they poor? Dirt poor. Syria, for example, there's a civil war. Why? To me, the answer is simple. Culture. The Jewish people got
Everything
together.
revolves around culture when it comes to
Pretty much everything.
Okay,
Yes,
so here's the thing. Have you heard of something called socioeconomics?
Yeah, but again, it boils down to culture because we live in a certain society
Okay.
with a certain culture, and we decide how socio-economic issues are handled.
Right,
We
so
as a society, as a culture.
Got you. Have you noticed how when you have more money, you live a happy life, you live comfortably, there is a less likelihood that you're going to go out and resort to the streets and shoot people up?
I'm sorry,
For
to-
example?
to shoot people up.
Yeah, so for example, if you take a look at the black community, black
Right.
on black crime is often brought
Right,
up, and
exactly.
it's all rooted down to culture, and in reality, that is 100% completely false. We have mountains and mountains and mountains of evidence to prove that black people are purposely being disproportionately disadvantaged in these communities, and it has nothing to do with culture. All the rap that you see, for example, hip hop, all of these rappers and the things that they're rapping about, that's just the reality. They're not rapping about it through a cultural lens. And I'm not denying the fact that there are certain cultures that are inherently immoral, that are inherently wrong. Some cultures are better than others. I'm not denying that. But you cannot say that when it comes to the black community or when it comes to certain areas in the U.S. or other certain disadvantaged areas that it's a cultural thing. When in reality, these people are being fucked by the system purposely because of the fact that there are laws and institutions in place, right, that are being purposely essentially, like, they're pulling the strings behind closed doors, right? And we all have evidence for this, right? Like, black people get locked up far more. Black people are less likely to be accepted for certain jobs, especially when they go out and wear certain hairdo. Like, we have evidence for all of that. It can't really just all pin down to culture.
Your family.
Right.
Do you have a father and a mother in your family?
Yes, so I was born here in the U.S. My mother and father are from Sudan. That's a country in Africa, and it's right behind Egypt. So I'm African American.
I know geography.
Yeah.
So, but they have father and mother. And then again,
Yes.
they're Sudanese. They're not really Americans. So it's a little bit different. So
no, they do have American citizenship, both of them. But
so,
other than that, yeah.
but the culture of American blacks,
Okay.
and it's different from the culture of, let's say, African blacks. They're not the same, by the way. And again, we're talking about culture here. And it's deplorable and it's regrettable.
Right.
Single family households. I think the number is shocking. I think close to 85% of black families have no fathers. I mean, isn't that part of culture?
That's not a part of culture. That's
Then
because
what makes
black people are
women-
far more likely to be locked up for crimes, right? Especially when the crimes are about the same compared to
gosh,
someone who's
so
white.
annoying.
I know, it's very annoying.
Which car is doing this? This
I think
red
it's this car, yeah.
Maybe because. Oh yeah, that's right.
So black people are far more likely to be locked up for the exact same crimes that white people commit, especially when it comes to these disadvantaged communities. It has nothing to do with culture. The thing is, obviously we have evidence that when you have a father, things go out very smoothly within the nuclear family. But when the father's away, then that's when they're going to go out because they don't have a father figure, a masculine figure in particular. They're going to go out, resort to the streets, they're going to commit more crime. And again, the reason why there are more fatherless households in these communities is because of socioeconomic factors that disproportionately affects them, and then from there,
listen, it's so easy and so convenient
Okay.
to put blame on somebody else. It's the easiest thing.
Okay, here's the thing.
You got to look inward. You got to look inward, and you got to start with yourself. That's the step number one. And if you look inward, and again, it all boils down to culture. I
Okay.
mean, I'm a law-abiding citizen. Okay, I know I will never, ever, ever end up being in jail. So it has nothing to do who is proportionately or disproportionately incarcerated. I just know
Okay.
that I will never see a jail in my life.
right.
As
Okay,
simple as
so
that. So culture, do not commit crime. So we wouldn't even
it's not as
talk
simple
about
as that. It's not. I know. We all
Oh,
know
man.
that crime is wrong. I'm in no way, shape, or form trying to go out and say that black on black crime within the community. Oh, let them go and shoot up and kill up each other. But there's a saying that a lot of rappers say is that one thing for sure is that if you give young black kids within the black community, let's say a pair of sneakers, you really think that they're gonna go out into the streets and commit crime? If you give them things and resources.
You said give.
Yes, so if you just simply give them
Give.
resources, yes.
It's not gonna work.
I'm just using that as a hypothetical, like an example.
No, I understand, but I'm questioning the word. I have a problem with the word give. I mean, you're Muslim or Christian?
I'm an ex-Muslim. I'm an atheist
Ex-Muslim,
now.
okay.
Right, I come from a Muslim family.
Got it.
Right.
So I mean, I said I'm Jewish. So, but in Christian religion, Jesus Christ said, give a man a fish and you will feed him for a day or something like that. Teach him how to fish, and he'll be like living life with his skill. I mean,
Exactly,
again,
right. Yeah, I know.
So when you say give, that's the wrong approach.
Right, so education?
Well, education.
Right, and again,
opportunity.
these communities, they don't get as much education compared to other communities
Listen,
as well.
if the problem again, we go back to single-parent families.
Okay.
That's the biggest problem. There's nobody who would even teach you that the way out of the ghetto, proverbial ghetto, is not committing crime, not associating yourself with, the hoodlums in the ghetto, but you have absolutely awesome examples how to get out of this poverty.
Have you listened?
Ben Carson, for example, this famous neurosurgeon.
Right.
Or a Supreme Court judge. I mean, if you talk about rappers, these are the people that you should have elevated to the pedestal. They lived at the very bottom, single parent family with just mother, and they made something out of themselves.
It's not as simple
If they
as that.
can do it,
Okay, so-
you can do it.
Yeah,
You can do
but
it.
here's the thing. I live in a regular neighborhood. I was grown and raised in a regular neighborhood, right?
son aplastados bajo el peso
What
de
happened?
los que quedan en las orillas del camino.
Yeah, so I was raised in a predominantly like I wasn't raised in the ghettos, right?
Okay,
So
you're from Sudan, right?
Yes, yeah, but I wasn't born in Sudan. I was born here in the
Well,
U.S.
you have no accent,
right?
yeah, I can hear
Yeah,
you.
I know.
Sudan
So
is a totally godforsaken place. Oh my God.
horrible. Yeah, I know. There's like
Horrible.
a genocide in the Darfur region that's going on
Yeah.
within the West.
Black and
It's
black.
horrible.
I mean, think about it. Culture. See, culture. It boils down to the same thing.
Okay.
Culture.
So let me ask you this,
Yeah, sure,
right?
go ahead.
Obviously, me and you can both agree that certain cultures are worse than others, correct?
Correct.
So let's focus on Islam in particular, especially considering the fact that I'm an ex-Muslim,
Right.
So the left, they get something wrong about Islam, and they'll say that it's not as bad compared to other religions, which is 100% completely false. They say that the reason why Islam is not as bad as, you know, other religions, for example, when in reality it's worse than the other religions, is because, oh, you know, it's not a cultural thing, it's because of socioeconomic status, for example.
They talk about
right?
Islam.
Huh? Yeah, we're talking about Islam, Muslims in particular,
Right.
you know, the suicide bombings and
Right,
the
right.
way that women are oppressed, for example,
Correct.
all of that, right?
Sudan, by the way, the female mutilation.
Yeah,
I mean,
genital fetal.
genital,
yeah, I know.
exactly. I mean,
right.
horrible.
So that is actually a cultural thing.
Thank you.
That's a cultural thing. Me and you can both agree on that and
Thank you.
actually say that that's a cultural thing when it comes
Okay.
to female genital mutilation, when it comes to male, like I you know, like circumcised. So that's the thing. That's also
That's
another.
exhibition.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
So
but
that's
going back
all.
to left, I like your point. You're pointing out that the leftists think that there's nothing wrong basically with Muslim religion, and
Right.
you disagree with that.
Yeah, I
So would
100% disagree
I
with
would
that.
like
And
to
the
hear
reason
that.
why is
Uh-huh.
because they say that it's because of socioeconomic status,
Uh-huh.
right? That's the reason why. They say that, oh, Islam is not as bad, right? And people just exaggerate it because you people are racist. And in reality, the reason why sometimes they can be more bad than other religions is because of socioeconomic status. But that's
Uh-huh.
100% completely false. Take a look at Saudi Arabia. Take a look at Qatar. These are the richest countries on the planet, but yet they still are like practicing horrible cultures, for example.
Correct.
That's
Yes.
the thing. So you can see that homosexuality is
Right.
illegal in these countries.
Correct.
And these are very rich countries. So
Correct.
you can't use socioeconomic status as an excuse when it comes
Thank
to
you.
that particular.
I completely agree
Right.
with you. Thank you. So it seems like we have more to agree on than disagree.
Yeah, hold on a second. I'll be back though. I'll be back.
Sure.
aún vivos. Hemos documentado